Welcome to Subramani. Please subscribe. Please hit the bell icon. In this series of videos where I'm answering questions, another question which has come up is what has been the Indian equities performance over the past 1, 3, 5 and 8 years, right? 1, 3, 5 and 8 years. I do not know why it is 8 years. I mean, I can understand if it was some other place, but Modi has been around now for 11 years. So if it asked me for 11 years, I would have looked at it differently, but 8 years. So let's what I did was to evaluate the performance of Indian equities, I focused on the Nifty 50, which is the key growth index internationally tracked, and National Stock Exchange has 90% of the business or 80% of the business. So I use the NSE figures. The figures are only the price returns, not the dividend returns, because the TRI was not available for this 8-year period and 20-year period, so I have ignored that. And historically the Nifty has been average yield of 1.5 to 2%, so you can add to that. So if I tell you 13.5% is the return, you can straight away add 2% to it, because the compounding of the earlier year investments and reinvestment, all that would also have an impact. Even ignoring dividend does not matter when the period is so short as 1, 3, 5 and 8. It may not matter, but if it was 25 years, I would have thought that the compounding impact of 1.5% could be much higher than what people think. So Nifty 50, historically the Nifty has paid about 1.5%. The calculations are based on, I'll give you the dates, adjusted for current date of 5th October 2025. So I started from 3rd October 2024 to 2025. There we started at 25,250 on 3rd October 2024, and we ended at 24,894 on 3rd October 2025. So we lost about 1.4%. So last 1 year return on the Nifty for one-time investors, that is lump sum investors, has been a minus 1.4. But if you go back for 3 years, if you go and you say 3rd October 2022, the index was approximately 17,000. I'm not very sure about this figure, but I don't want to say 17,342 or things like that. I think approximately 17,000. And then now on 3rd October 2025, as we just saw, the index was 24,894. That gave you a return of 13.5%. Now if you add 1.5% of dividend yield, then about 15% is what you would have got. But please remember, you would not have got this, the index would have got this. You would have got better than the index if your fund manager performed better than the index, or you could have got worse than the index if your fund manager underperformed the index. So this is about 13.5%. You add another 1.5%, so 15% is what the Nifty has given you over the past 3 years. What happens to if you go further down, if you go for say past 5 years, then you start on October 2020, 5th October 2020, the market had reasonably recovered the March slump. March, April, the market was down, but by September, the market had recovered, but still it was a time when not many people were willing to invest. The index was approximately 11,700 and you closed at 24,894, just as we saw, and that gave you about 16.3%. Here you can safely add 2% of the dividend yield, so that means you got about 18% in over a 5-year period. But please don't get carried away by this. 2020 was a very bad year. So if somebody tells you last 5 years return from March 2020 to March 2025, please understand the starting base was very low. So every fund, every mutual fund, every index, Sensex, Nifty, whatever is going to look good for this period starting 2020. Now March, April 2020 was much worse. By September, a lot of that earlier loss was made up. Now if you go to 8 years, right, so you go to 3rd October 2017 when the index was approximately 10,000, so you have got something like 12% return. Now I'm very happy with this kind of a number at 12% over the last 8 years. Now if you add 1.5 to 2% of dividend, that gives you about 14%, way above the bank fixed deposit rate which you are getting, and people are happily keeping money in banks, and a lot of Indian money is in banks and not in mutual funds, but anyway, their call. How did I calculate the CAGR? It is obviously from end value, new value divided by number of years minus 1. You know that, right? So this is the return that you would have got if you had invested in India in the last 1, 3, 5 or 8 years. Thank you.